This is TPC MAAP, Mississippi Academic Assessment Program 2024, Algebra 1. We are going to be looking at released items that are available on the Questar website for the released Algebra 1 assessment. These are actual items that were used on assessments or were in their item bank. And we're going to learn a little bit about how to use the embedded Desmos graphing calculator to give kids their best chance at getting those items right when they see something similar on their upcoming MAAP assessment. Let's take a look at the official website. The link to this page, Mississippi Academic Assessment Program Practice Test and Sample Test Items, will be provided in the show notes. So I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video and go down and get that link and log in with me, and you can be doing these items with me. So when you get here, the first thing you're going to do is select your test. In this case, we're going to select math. We're going to select our grade. We're doing Algebra 1. Then our test. We're going to do the sample test items, not the full practice session or these other two. So let's do these sample test items. And then you want to scroll down, because these buttons are going to pop up. You have the option of printing it or taking it online. We are going to start the test and take it online. When you get in here, it's going to give you a tutorial. You can X the tutorial to kind of skip over that if you would like. And then in a few seconds, this will pop up and you'll click on Start Test. Now, there are only 23 items in this part of the assessment. And we are not going to look, or excuse me, there's only 20 items in this part of the assessment, and we are not going to look at all 20 items, but we are going to look at specifically the items that deal with the Desmos graphing calculator. The first question we're going to look at is item number 3, and this is a fairly standard item. It says which expressions are equivalent to, and you have a quadratic expression, and you're looking for 2 answer choices that are equivalent. Now at the bottom of the screen, you have to look down at the bottom on this test to find the button that says calculator. There's only one button. There aren't multiple versions to choose from, like some states. And when you click on it, it will say Desmos Calculator. This is the official Desmos version for Mississippi. You'll notice these little marks in the bottom right corner. This shows you how to resize your calculator, and I use that quite a bit. I'm glad they have that because not all the states do. I'm going to type this expression just as it is into the calculator. Since the expression has an x, it will go ahead and graph the function of x. And if you want to zoom out to see more of it, you can. I don't think that's going to be necessary though, so I'm going to just leave mine alone. So the first answer choice is the product of 2 binomials. Now, one thing I don't like about this calculator is the first and the second row are always both red. So my suggestion is to click and hold the second one and change it to black or some other color. So here's the one, answer choice A, or the first answer choice. And to notice that parabola is not right on top of the red one, which means it's not an equivalent expression. So the second answer choice is x minus 3, x plus 9, and it is. So when you click on this button, you'll see the red right under it. That is the exact same parabola. So we're going to choose that answer choice. I know if that one's right that this third one's not right, so I'm not even going to type it. Let's go ahead and type in, I'll go to the third row, I'll leave that one. Let's type in the fourth answer choice, x plus 3, shift 6, and then 2, make sure exponent of 2, hit the right arrow, and then type minus 36. And that one looks good too. Let's make sure. You want to turn off this one, and you'll see the red, turn the blue back on, and you'll see that it's directly over that one. So the correct answers were the second and the fourth answer. For your information on the Mississippi MAAP, if there are 5 answer choices, 2 will be correct. It will tell you to select 2. Some states don't have that requirement. I did actually work on the committee that wrote actually some of these questions we're doing right now, and I've been on their committee more than any other state, and their rules are pretty standard across the board, and I'll let you know what those are as we go. But anytime you have 5 answer choices, 2 will be correct. If there are 7 answer choices, then 3 will be correct. Let's go to the next item. We once again have a function that is quadratic. This time it's named f of x, and we are to choose 2 answer choices that represent the zeros of the function. Sometimes when they have zeros, they'll say x equals. These just have the numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in our function. So f of x equals 9x squared minus 36. Now, one way to do this problem is simply to click on the graph itself and get your answers, and then select -2 and +2. But I do want to show you another way to find the zeros of a function. If you plug a number into a function and the output is 0, we call that a zero of the function. So f of -4, you'll see, is not a 0 because the output was 108. But f of -2 is a 0. So that's another way to verify that a number is a 0 of a function. And you also find the -2 is on the x-axis of the graph, so the y value there is 0. So f of +2, again, the output is 0. It is also a 0 of the function. Again, 5 answer choices, and 2 of those will be correct. The next question is a quadratic equation again, and this time we are asked to complete the square. And so we're going to add numbers into these boxes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my calculator and resize it and type in the equation as it appears. So it's x squared minus 14x equals 10. Now, when we do that, we should see 2 solutions, and you'll need to tell your kids that because sometimes one of the solutions will not show. And those are going to be represented by these vertical lines on the graph. The x-intercepts of these 2 lines are the 2 solutions. These are decimal numbers, of course, and not exact, but they are the solutions. So when we write our answer in the boxes, we're going to have to make sure that what we get out is equivalent to this graph. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to type this in, x minus, but instead of putting a box there, we're going to put the letter A for a slider. Shift 6 and then a 2 will make your exponent. And then E. Now we need another letter for B. So we'll put a B and then plus 10. Now the directions below this say add slider, A, B, all. So click on all to add both slider A and B. Now this is red, so it looks just like the first graph, unfortunately. So let's change the color by clicking and holding this red dot and picking some other color. I'm going to pick the blue one. And now you can see that the blue one does not match. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the A value. The A value is going to move this left to right, which makes sense because it's a number being subtracted from X. I want to get this centered as best I can between those 2. I don't want it over to the right or to the left. I want it kind of in between in the middle. So we'll just eyeball it at this point, but we will make it more accurate in a minute. Looks like 7 might work. All right, then for the B, you'll notice when you drag this that it makes this wider. But 10 is not nearly wide enough. If you go all the way to 10, which is what the default is for the highest, it's not going to be big enough. So let's make this even bigger by highlighting the 10 and changing it to 20. 20 is not high enough. Let's try 30. 30 is not high enough. 40. Oh, we're getting close. And then 50. Now 50 looks right, but it's actually 49, which is exactly right. And so let's see if that works. I know if I turn off the blue, my x-intercept here is negative 0.681. If I turn off the red and turn on the blue, this is negative 0.681. It's the same number. So that's telling me my value for A should be 7, and my value for B, let's check it too. This one's 14.681. That's not B, but it does work. Let's turn on the red and turn this one off. And look at that, 14.681. These are both working. This graph is on top of this graph, and the values for the x-intercepts are exactly the same. So that's telling me the value that goes here is my A value, 7, and the value that goes here is my B value, 49. And that's all there is to it. Sliders are great when they're asking you to fill in a blank and you don't have answer choices. I encourage you to try them. Let's go to the next item. The next item we'll look at is question number 10. This is a quadratic equation that represents the position of an object, and we are looking for points that fall on the graph of this equation. So click on calculator, move it over, resize. Something else you can do is you can move this over and make the graph smaller and the expression bigger, or vice versa. So if you didn't know, that's adjustable as well. Let's type in the function y equals negative 9.8x squared. If you will highlight all of that and then hit divide, which is next to your shift key on the right, you'll get a parabola like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust this graph. You'll notice these values for the y go all the way down to negative 39. So if you would like, you can have your x's and y's adjusted and make your low value for y like negative 50. We can make our high value 0, and we could count by 5s maybe. I'll turn off the minor grid lines. For the x's, they only go from 0 to 4, so we could go from maybe negative 1 to 5. And I'll count by 1s. All right, let's see what that looks like. I'm going to move this over. I think I like this. This is good. Zoom out a little bit. All right, so let's start with the point 0, 0. One thing you can do is click and drag and hold it until it lands on the point. And 0, 0 is right on the x-axis. It is definitely a solution because it is represented there as your x-intercept, your y-intercept. So now we just need to find one more solution. Let's try 1, negative 4.4. So I'm going to click and drag. So click the graph. You'll see the numbers. And I'm looking for 1 and negative 4.4. It's looking like it's not that. It looks like it's negative 4.9. So that one's not working. You can also type it in. Let me do that to show you what that looks like. And it is close, but if you zoom way in, you can see this point is not quite on that parabola. You might want to change the color here to be something different. Let's make it black. You can really tell it's off a little bit. So that one is not working. We don't want to choose it. Let's try 2, negative 9.8. So I'm going to click and drag. Let's see, 2. It's kind of hard to get right on it. 2 is negative 19.6, so that one's not right. Let's try 3. Well, I'm going to have to move over a little bit for 3 because 3 is way over here. Let's see what we get at 3. 3 is negative 44.1, and that one is correct. Again, you can type it in. So let's type in that last one, 4, negative 39.05, and you'll see that it's way off. It is not on this graph. So the correct answer choices were 0, 0, and 3, negative 44.1. The last question we'll look at today is question number 14. It is another quadratic function, and it does also talk about zeros. So you can see quadratics are pretty important in this sample. But it's also showing you the Desmos calculator is extremely helpful with quadratic functions on this test. So if you're not using any of these strategies with your kids, you may want to start. Let them play around with graphing these parabolas and analyzing these graphs, and they'll probably get more of these items correct. So the first thing I did was type the function, and I'm looking for the zeros. Well, the first thing I would do is click on the x-axis, and you could just by process of elimination choose A or C maybe, because you see 1s and 3s and not B or D, because those are not showing your they're actually showing your vertex. B is the vertex form without the negative in front, so it's not going to work. Let's go ahead and type in a few of these. Now, the sad thing about this problem is they don't have to give you the same parabola. I know that's terrible. It's almost not good, but I'm going to go ahead and change this to some other color so you can see. This one is definitely not correct, because not only is it not the same parabola, it does not have the same zeros either. So A is out. If you've never used Answer Eliminator, it's a button right next to the calculator. If you click on that, then you can click on the item and it will eliminate that item. So that's one way to rule that one out. So we're down to B, C, and D. Well, I'm going to use this same row to type B, x minus 1 squared plus 4. All right, now that one has the same vertex, but it does not have x-intercepts at all. So clearly that could not reveal the zeros because it doesn't have any zeros. And then finally, C. Let's try that one. We'll put negative x plus 1 and x minus 3. And that is exactly the same parabola. So obviously it has the same x-intercepts, and it does reveal the x-intercepts. So even though D is technically the same graph, it does not reveal the zeros. So the only one that answers the question is C. I have created a 10-question practice set of items, and half of the items mirror the ones you just saw. And it is now available for free in my store, and I have given you the link in the show notes. So if you have not gone to the show notes yet, you want to go now and click on that link so that you can get out and get to this page or get to this site and get this free resource. It will be a paid item next Monday, which is March. Let's see, March the 4th. It will be a paid item. I did provide a paper answer document, and you can see that here, but you could have the kids just write on the test and not use the answer document if you're using it for like an activity, or they could do the answer document and you could grade it. You can also digitize this in like Google Forms or Formative and give it that way. But I would encourage you to get this if you haven't already and use it. Maybe after you go over the items at the official website, you could do one of these for practice. Be sure to stay tuned because I've got another 5 practice items that I'm going to show you at the official Mississippi website using their sample items from 2023. And that will prepare you for the last 5 items on the practice that I just created for you in my store. If y'all have any questions about any of these items or suggestions for things you'd like to see in an upcoming training video, y'all let me know. Y'all have a great day.